Okay, I want to thank everybody for their patience as we get this meeting started. My name is Ann Carmichael, and I work with Leela. We're a nonprofit college access organization right down the street from you on South Acadian. We are here, and our services are free of charge, and I appreciate your counselor for inviting me to speak to you again tonight about the college financial aid process. It's an exciting time of year. Everybody is doing their research and taking a look at their top colleges. Of course, you want to keep in mind their tuition, which is listed on their website or should be, but you need to also consider other fees and expenses that you might incur if you're going away to school. But there are monies available to help you pay for those college expenses. Federal Student Aid offers the Federal Pell Grant, the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, service grants, and teach grants. They administer the Federal Work Study Program. These are jobs available on campus. They um, award them on a first come, first served basis. So if you're interested in working while you're in school, this is a great opportunity to earn some extra money to help pay for your expenses. And these jobs also look really good on your first professional resume. So if you're interested, remember it's your responsibility to contact the financial aid department at your college. And then there are federal student loans, and it's important to understand the difference between loans that you might be offered. The direct subsidized loan is available to undergraduate students. This is a need-based loan. So for those of the neediest who might need a little bit of assistance, no interest accrues on these subsidized loans while the student is in school. Of course, once he graduates or ceases to attend, that interest will begin accruing and he'll be responsible for paying the interest and the principal amount that he's borrowed. The direct unsubsidized loans are for basically all undergraduates, graduates, and professional students. But with this type of loan, the interest rate is going to be accruing while you're in college. We do encourage you to pay that interest quarterly. You'll receive a statement from federal student aid letting you know how much interest has accrued that quarter, and it's best to pay it so that you're not having that interest capitalized and then pay interest on the interest as well. Now, parents can borrow on behalf of their children if they find that they are in a situation that they are able to help. They can accept a Parent Plus loan. And of course, there are plus loans for graduate school as well. All of these monies can be used at 2 and 4 year colleges, community and technical schools, for accredited online courses, and again for grad school. Why should you complete a FAFSA? Well, first of all, the free application for federal student aid is your application for all the federal dollars that I just mentioned. It also can serve as your TOPS application. By completing the FAFSA, the TOPS office receives word that you've done so, and that's your application. If you choose not to complete a FAFSA, please go to the TOPS website and complete their online application. As I mentioned, by completing the FAFSA, you are going to be considered for the Pell Grant, for federal work study and federal loans. You'll also be considered for the Louisiana Go Grant. And some private organizations offer scholarships and grant dollars based upon your completion of the FAFSA. So check with groups that you're working with to make sure that you are applying for as much aid as you can. Now, U.S. citizens and nationals can complete a FAFSA. Those with a green card, an arrival departure record, those with battered immigrant status, or those who have a T visa are also eligible to complete a FAFSA and be considered for federal student aid. You'll want to begin the FAFSA process by gathering all of the documentation that you're going to need to complete the form. That way, it'll be a smoother process. I'm going to talk to you about how to create your federal student aid ID in just a minute, but grab your Social Security cards, your federal income tax returns from the year 2024, your W-2s from that same period, and then you'll want to have access to any bank or brokerage statements that you might have, because you will be asked to report the balance of those statements um, as of the date you submit your FAFSA. Now, we'll talk a little bit about how you're going to access the free application for federal student aid. Every student who's seeking aid will need to complete a federal student aid ID, and the web address is listed down here at the bottom of the page. You will get started at the top and begin to answer questions about yourself, the students. You will identify yourself, and you must verify um, your identity in two of these three ways: by email, by text message, or by an authenticator app of your choice. So remember that you'll be asked to provide two different proofs of identification. Then you'll use that FSA ID to begin your FAFSA. The web address is here at studentaid.gov. And I want to mention to you that because you are the high school class of 2026, you will be completing the 26-27 FAFSA because you're completing and applying for aid for the academic year that you're going to be in school and college. You'll complete a FAFSA each year for the very next academic year, so you can go ahead and mark your calendars now for October 1st of 2026 to complete the FAFSA for your sophomore year. We're assuming today that we are completing and beginning as the student contributor. So the student will use his Federal Student Aid ID username and password to log into the FAFSA. Then he'll identify his role as a student, and he'll consent to have his information moved from the IRS and dropped down into the FAFSA. Now, this is a mandatory step. Students must allow the IRS to check their income from 2024. Even if you didn't file a return, you still must consent to the process. Hopefully, you're successful in transferring that information. But if you receive a message that your data could not be retrieved, don't panic. You can continue on and complete manually. The student will move to the personal circumstances section and report his current marital status, his college or career school plans. And although I know many of you, probably all of you, have participated in dual enrollment or AP courses, or you're going to be clupping out of courses, and that's great. You could be classified as a sophomore when you start college. However, for federal student aid purposes, you should all report that you are first year freshmen because you've never received federal student aid before. In the personal circumstances section, the students will be asked to consider this list of questions. The first two will not pertain to you. You're not in the armed forces. You're not on active duty. But consider and answer correctly if the student has children or other people that he provides more than 50% of their support to between July 26 and June 27. Has the student been an orphan since he turned the age of 13? Has he been a ward of the court? Was she in foster care or an emancipated minor? Or was the student in legal guardianship? Um, and I want to make clear that there is a difference between legal guardianship and legal custody. So make sure you have your documentation with you. If you do fall into one of these categories, you will be considered an independent student and you will not have to provide information about your parents. Everyone else will be considered dependent, but make sure you have your legal documents with you to provide to the IR to the financial aid office once you're accepted. Is the student homeless or at risk of being homeless? This is certainly a special circumstance. But what if you can't answer yes to one of those prior questions, but you're still unable to get in contact with your parents or get their cooperation? Well, you can state that you have unusual circumstances, but then it will be your responsibility for working through that appeal process with your financial aid counselor. What are some unusual circumstances? Maybe the student is estranged from his parents or had left the home due to an abusive situation. Maybe the student's parents are incarcerated, or the student could be in an asylee status or have been granted a refugee status. Some circumstances that are not considered unusual in the eyes of federal student aid or parents who don't claim their child on their tax returns. That's fine. It won't matter who claims the child. This perhaps the student doesn't live with his parents and he's on his own and paying his way. If he can't answer one of the prior questions at his age, he still is considered a dependent student. Maybe the student parents don't want to provide their information due to privacy concerns, or they tell the student they aren't paying for his education expenses, so they don't want to report. That is his prerogative. That's your parents' prerogative. However, remind them that if they do not contribute and you do not have special or unusual circumstances, the student will only be offered the non-need-based federal student loans. As I mentioned, if you do find yourself in one of these unusual circumstances, contact your financial aid counselor at the college you're going to, and they will work with you to try to find some additional aid for you and work with you in your situation. Are you interested in the direct unsubsidized loan only? That means you don't want to be considered for any of the free grant money that's available through federal student aid. No, you want to be considered for all federal student aid. So we encourage everyone to select no here. The student will move to the demographic section where he will be asked to report his sex, his race, and ethnicity, and his citizenship status. He will report whether his parents have attended college. Now, if neither parent has ever attended college, it's important to report that because that student could be eligible for additional support once he gets on his college campus. It could be additional financial aid, it could be some tutoring, mentoring. So please be sure to answer that question accurately. Next, we'll move on into the tax portion of the FAFSA. Hopefully, you can see here that this student did move his information from the IRS and it was dropped into the FAFSA, so he will not have to answer manual questions about his income. But were his parents killed in the line of duty? Was anybody, either of his legal parents, killed while serving as a member of the armed forces on or after the events of 9/11? Or maybe perhaps he was performing official duties as a firefighter, as a police officer, or emergency service worker. The student needs to report his high school completion status, and then you'll move on into the financial section. You will be asked a few questions about your tax return if you filed one, and then you'll want to report your assets. You'll want to tally your cash and your cash savings and checking account balances. Add that number up here and enter it in the field. And move down if the student has any investments that he needs to report. He will only report the current net worth. And also, if he has businesses or farms, he will report the current net worth of those. And remember, the current net worth is defined as the value of that asset or property minus any debt he might owe on that asset. Next, you'll start to gather a list and build your list of colleges that you want federal student aid to send your data to. Now, they're not going to send it to every college around the country. You have to give them permission, and you can submit up to 20 colleges each time you submit your FAFSA. If you are planning to apply to more than 20 colleges, I'm happy to help you, but you will basically submit your FAFSA with your first 20, wait for it to process, go back in once you receive word that it's fully processed, remove the first 20 and add the next 20. And so this is the portion where the student will be taken through a series of questions to help him identify who his parent contributor is. And although it's very comprehensive, I would like to briefly go over exactly how this is going to be determined. If the student's legal parents have never been married, then that student will report the legal parent who provided him with the most financial support in the 12 months prior to the date he submitted the FAFSA. If both of his legal parents are unmarried, but they live in the same household, they will both have to report their income on the FAFSA. Just as if the parents were living together and married, both parents must contribute. Now, if you're in a situation where your parent is widowed or divorced and has remarried, you will report the parent who provided you with the most financial support. And if that parent is remarried, you must now provide income information about your step parent. If the parents are divorced, then again, you will only select the parent who provided the most financial support in the past 12 months. So basically, they're trying to get an idea of the income of the household that the student lives in, and they want everybody to report. Once that parent is identified, you will send him an email invitation to contribute to your FAFSA. These are a few of the steps you will see. And once you send the email, you will see this pop up that will give you information about who exactly you did send your invite to. And you'll see down toward the bottom an invitation code that the parent will use to contribute to your FAFSA. Then it's time to take a look through your questions and answers. You can see that this student has completed all the sections needed in his portion of the FAFSA, but drop down these fields and take a look at each section so that you can see your questions and your answers to each and check them over for accuracy. Next, you want to agree that the information you've provided within the FAFSA is correct to the best of your knowledge and sign. You can see here that the parent contributor is listed down at the bottom. If you find that you made an error with that email address or you decided that you answered a few questions wrong, you can always manage the invitations at this point and resend an invitation to the correct parent. Make sure you're reading through the pop-ups that you receive once you sign your FAFSA. There's a lot of great information here that will help you be prepared when you get to school. Now, in the meantime, your parent is receiving an email that will look similar to this. It will express to him the importance of contributing to his student's email, why he's doing so, and it will provide him with the invitation code to get started. That parent will create his federal student aid ID, just like I mentioned before, at the same exact site, and he will identify himself so that he can log into the student's FAFSA and contribute. The first screen will ask the parent to provide consent and approval to have his information transferred from the IRS. Even if the parent did not file in 2024, that's fine. They just need to check that. Hopefully you're successful. If not, you can manually enter your income information. And if you need help, we're available. We're right down the road from you guys. If you'd like to come by our office and you need some additional support, please feel free to do that. We're right across the street from TJ Ribs. The parent will then move into his demographic section where he'll report his current marital status, his current state of residence, and the date he became a resident of that state, and then began to report his finances. This parent section of the financial section of the FAFSA is very similar to the student section. However, the parents are asked, first of all, to report any federal benefits that they or anyone in their family have participated in the calendar year 24 or 25. He will answer questions about his tax filing status. This is, of course, listed on your tax return. And you have the option to manually update your family size. And this is because we're importing information from 2024, and a lot can happen in 2 years. So just make sure that you are checking your tax return. This number here that shows the parent's family size is 5 is taken directly from the tax return. Now, if you have a dependent who has left home and is no longer considered a dependent, or if you've added a dependent, you can manually update that and enter it into the box below. Report the number of students that the family will have in college during the 26-27 academic year. And then here you can see it looks as if this parent was unable to transfer their data from the IRS. So he must manually enter questions. There's a lot of help within these sections. They'll even tell you the line item and the page number to go to from the federal forms. But if you do need additional help, understanding exactly what they're asking for, we're happy to work with you. The parent contributor who was selected must report any annual child support he's received in the last complete calendar year. Hold on, I'm still allowing people in the room. So, any child support that you received as the legal parent in the past full calendar year will be reported here. Now, it's not what you were court mandated to receive. Only report exactly what you received during that period. Parents will report the balance of their savings and checking accounts and add any cash they might have on hand and drop it here in this first box. Next, the parents will consider and report the current net value of any investments, including real estate investments, but not your family home and not your retirement investment accounts. Only education investment accounts must be reported. Next, the parents will report the current net value of any businesses or farms that they own. However, if the business is a family-owned business with 100 or fewer employees, do not report that business here. If the family lives on a farm or fishery, their family home is located on that property, do not report the current net value of that property either. This is for investment properties and investment farms and larger businesses. If that parent is married and shows so and reports that earlier in the form, that spouse's information will be requested. And then it's time for the parents to review their answers to the questions they were asked and agree that the information is correct, sign and submit the FAFSA. They will then be told that their FAFSA is complete, and the student will receive an email from Federal Student Aid telling him that his parent was successful in completing his FAFSA. Once the FAFSA is processed, Federal Student Aid will email the student his FAFSA submission summary. And this is very important. Sometimes students will contact us late in the summer, right before college is beginning, and saying, "Oh, LSU didn't get my FAFSA, but I know I sent it to them." Go back to your FAFSA summary. You can see the date that that Federal Student Aid received it and processed it. And you'll see a data release number, which is very interesting because you can actually give this number to the financial aid administrator at your college, and they can make FAFSA changes for you if they request you to do so. On that submission summary, you will see your Pell Grant estimate, your federal direct loan estimate. You will see information about federal work study, and many other resources. So remember that this form, this submission form, is just an estimate. This is not your financial aid offer. That offer is going to come from your college financial aid office. Your student aid index is the formula that Federal Student Aid uses to send over to your colleges to recommend what they believe you might be eligible for. Many scholarship programs ask for the SAI, so make sure you have this on hand if asked. And again, here's a good look at your FAFSA submission summary. If you need to make corrections after you take a long look at it, you can always go back into the FAFSA and make that correction. You'll also see your school information. There will be a list of the schools that you had your FAFSA sent to. If LSU was on here and someone called me, I could send them directly to this part of their submission summary and let them know LSU did receive your FAFSA data on this date, and you can give them that data release number to look it up. There's so much good information, so make sure you're looking through all of those resources. Now, what happens once your FAFSA is submitted? It goes on to the colleges you've shared. The financial aid office begins to review the information you've provided them so that they can provide you with a student aid offer. They are trying to determine your cost of attendance on their campus, whether you need a meal plan or you're staying on campus, off campus. All of that's going to determine your individual cost of attendance. Then the financial aid office will begin looking for any grants or scholarship dollars that they can offer you to go to their college. And that will give you your net price. And the net price is what you and your family are responsible for paying. Each college will send you a financial aid offer. They won't all look as this one does, but they should all show your cost of attendance by a lined item list, grants and scholarships that they will be offering you, any student loans that they can offer you if you need additional money to pay for your net price. Of course, federal work study could be listed here, and sometimes your outside scholarships will be listed on your offer. Many colleges wait until you have been accepted to their college to begin working on your offer. So make sure you're getting those admissions applications completed and meeting all of their requirements. If price is important to you, you'll want to lay all your financial aid offers out side by side, take a long look to determine which is best for you. Once you do select your college, you always want to accept your financial aid in this order. Your scholarships and grants first. This is free money that you don't want to turn down because you don't have to repay it. Federal work study is money that you've earned, so that doesn't have to be repaid. Your last resort will be loans, but have a really good conversation with your parents about what a loan is and the responsibilities of that loan. If you do decide to accept loans, make sure that you are laying out all of your offers side by side to determine who's offering you the best interest rate, who's charging fees and who isn't, who is offering rebates for auto draft and other incentives. So do your homework before selecting your lender. And speaking of lenders, do you realize that every scholarship dollar you earn is one less dollar that you're going to have to borrow? So check with your college counselors. They are your best resource for scholarships. Your parents might work for companies that offer scholarships to their employees' children. Maybe you belong to a social group. But either way, continue to look for those scholarships. Leela offers a monthly um, FAFSA completion scholarship. If you're planning to complete, you can apply now. Your name will stay in our system throughout your senior year, and you will have many opportunities to win this scholarship. It is in the form of a random drawing so that everyone has the same opportunity to win. Stay in Louisiana and go to a school here, and we will give you the opportunity to apply for a Choose Louisiana scholarship that is also awarded on a random basis. Our FAFSA completion guides are out. So if you have yours, great. If you haven't received it, I'm happy to send you a copy of the guide. It has a lot of great tips and a lot of the information that I discussed tonight. This is a free publication. We also offer a senior checklist for college planning to keep you on task so that you're ready for college to begin in the fall. This is listed on our website at leela.org. I'm also happy to email it over to you directly, which brings me to my email address. I know that this is a lot of information to digest in just a short period of time, so please feel free to email me with any specific questions you might have. Or if you decide to jump on into the FAFSA, call us with your quick questions on our FAFSA helpline. But if you'd like to schedule a virtual session to have someone online with you via Google Meet um, to help walk you through the process. Please do so by scanning this QR code, which goes directly to our calendars so you can select a date and time that's convenient for you. This is a free opportunity for you as well. And as I mentioned, you can always pop down to our office and complete your FAFSA there. Now, I've done all the talking, so I would like to give you all an opportunity to ask questions. If you want to drop them in the chat box, that's fine. Or if you want to unmute yourself and speak your questions out loud, I'm happy to address those. If it's more on a personal nature, let's just have an email conversation. This is a great question. Is there a way to report a change in financial circumstances, such as retirement? Yes, there is. You would still report all the information that you were asked of in the FAFSA, but think of that as just a generic federal form. Get that onto the colleges that you're interested in, and then you will contact the financial aid offices and work with them directly to discuss your change of income, anything. A lot could have happened since 2024's return was filed. So you will work directly with the financial aid administrators if you find yourself in an unusual circumstance. Another great question. If you have two students going to college during the 26-27 year, do you need a different parent ID for each student? Every individual needs one FSA ID. The student uses his to complete his FAFSA. The parent uses his to draw his tax information down into the FAFSA and also to sign the FAFSA. If you already have an ID that you've used perhaps when you were in college or when you had older children in college, that is still your identification. That's still your FSA ID. But I will encourage you, before you begin contributing, log into the ID. Check to make sure everything is still accurate, your contact info, email address, etc., and then begin using that same ID to contribute. Now, if you're in a situation where you were married and you filed separately, you could be asked to have an FSA ID for both legal parents if they live in the same household, because you will have to download your information from the IRS twice, and each parent who filed separately will need to transfer their data in. In regards to contributors, does it only go to one parent or both under married circumstances? That's great. I always tell the student if his parents are married, they usually don't know how you filed. So select one of those married parents, and then the FAFSA will walk them through identifying any additional contributors. Um, in other words, they will see that when that parent pulled their fat tax information in from the IRS, it showed married jointly. So no, he will not have to have another contributor because all that tax income information was transferred in. At that time, if the FAFSA group sees that the IRS shows, okay, this parent that the student identified filed separately, well, then they'll ask that parent to invite the second parent who filed separately to use the IRS data retrieval tool. I hope that was plain, but please feel free to reach out to me to continue our discussion. Let's see. In regard to contributors, does it only go to one parent? Okay, we already went over that one. Does anyone else have a question? What if you have an older child and you don't remember your ID from the FAFSA? You will go back to the same site where you create your FSA ID and you will log in, but you'll state that you forgot your username or your username and password, and you will be walked through a process to retrieve that information. If you have two separate email addresses, will there be a place for you to add both? You will need to select one of your personal email addresses to serve for all your federal student aid purposes. So it's best to stick with one email address, and then you'll know that everything coming into you from federal student aid will come into you through that separate email address. So you will want to select one of them, not both. I will be providing your counselor with a copy of this presentation and the slide deck. So I'm sure that she'll be sending this out to you if you want to do a refresh. Um, in the meantime, I have another question. If your email address changes, what do you do? If you have created your FSA ID already, but you want to use a different email address, just log back into your the FSA ID site, and you can change the email address that you want your communications to go to. You always want to keep your FSA ID information up to date. You're welcome. If there aren't any more questions to talk about tonight, I'm going to go ahead and close out the presentation. Let me see, did I get another question? What are our hours? Our hours are 24, I feel like they're 24 hours a day. We do answer email around the clock. Our FAFSA helpline is available. We usually will answer it from 8 to 5, but if you leave a message, we'll call you back when we can, usually within the hour or so. Our virtual sessions are usually from 9 to 5. Federal Student Aid's helpline is open until 8 p.m., and we're in the process of extending our hours of assistance through our free virtual sessions through the weekends. So check back if you're looking for a weekend appointment, check back in a couple of days. Our calendar should be updated to reflect that. Or you can email me directly and I'll schedule an appointment with you at a time that's convenient for you. Yes, you can come in person as well. We are located in the LWCC building right across from TJ Ribs on South Acadian. Probably pass us every day when you're on your way to school. All right, I'm going to close out the session for the evening, but I'll look forward to hearing from you and from seeing some of those scholarship applications come in. Good luck to everybody this year, and remember that we're here to help you. Have a great senior year.